You want to know why Republicans are going to lose in the fall?
Now, I don't see why any man would vote Democrat. And to be a man and then vote for a woman is either childish, that person has mommy issues, or they're just trying to be accepted by other women. When a man votes for a woman, he actually transitions into a woman.
Now, tell me that guy is sane, but here's the real problem Republicans face.
Kamala Harris, Lyon, Lyin apostrophe. The most incompetent and far-left vice president.
Kamala Harris is not a flaming liberal. She's the face of New America, and the polls show it. In a year where women have had their rights assaulted by the right, she stood up.
The government should not be telling that woman what to do with her body. Mm-hmm. This evokes, in my mind, very fundamental rights, including the right to freedom for each individual to make a decision about what is in their best interest, the best interest of their family.
Now, you can call that liberal, but you'd be an idiot. 70% of Americans back choice and 85% of women are pro-choice. And she's tough, a prosecutor who wasn't afraid to send anyone to prison, regardless of status, race, or wealth. It didn't matter. Kamala Harris is tough. She's really tough. And who's she running against? Republicans view themselves as tough guys, but how does America see the Republican Party? Oh, tiptoe through the window. And to that point, Fox and I Have No Friends kind of stumbled in their attack on Harris by making her seem, well, Republican.
They happen to be all Republican ideas.
Yes. And so here's the thing. We have seen a million politicians during their careers change their positions. However,
all of them?
We've seen
I'm saying all their positions.
No. What I was going to say is we've seen politicians change their positions over time. Well, I've evolved in my thinking. We've never seen a politician change so many positions essentially on one piece of paper.
I mean, it's
somebody
shocking.
else.
The difference is, though, in this election, we have their records. Not only their records, we have their experience from when they were in office. She has been part of the Biden team for the last 3.5 years. We know what their record is. Then we saw Trump 4 years ago when he was president. We know what his record is. He was trying to build the wall. They immediately stopped building the wall on day one.
This is classic. They're complaining that Harris has positions they can't attack, especially the border. I mean, it's hilarious. Why does she represent basic Republican positions while our candidate is insane?
And the statement of Robert E. Lee, who's no longer in favor. Did you ever notice that? No longer in favor. Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow.
And on the border, Trump knew the wall would never get built. It was raw meat for these knuckleheads.
Give me your tired and your poor who can stand on their own 2 feet and who will not become a public charge.
Mexico wouldn't pay for it. Republicans wouldn't pay for it. Only people like Harris got the point.
She was appointed to have a big position, call it the border czar or whatever you want to call it, and she went down to the border once.
Visiting the border for a photo op doesn't fix anything. It's 1,800 miles long. What part should she visit? Harris just gets things done.
They happen to be all Republican ideas.
Trump stands at the border like his fat ass could plug a hole or two. Well, that may not be a bad idea. But what does visiting the border do? Nada. Americans can see that. Harris came up with rational ideas for a nation that was built on immigration, a nation that desperately needs immigrants.
I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being from access to public safety, public education, or public health.
For the record, this is exactly what another Republican said. You might remember him.
I supported this bill. I believe in the idea of amnesty for those who have put down roots and who have lived here, even though some time back they may have entered illegally.
And fentanyl?
Ignored this issue. Fentanyl has gone in.
It's not coming across the Mexican border. 80% comes through ports like Long Beach. And who's bringing it in at both places? It ain't Juan, it's John. Americans are smuggling in the vast majority of fentanyl.
Encounters on our border are up 6 million.
Well, does Fox even know what an encounter is? Ditzy Queen makes it sound like encounters are people flooding in, but an encounter is when anyone approaches the border for any reason. That means people seeking asylum, people who live in Mexico and work in the U.S., and those who attempted to enter and were caught or turned away. And the number of encounters during Trump's 4 years were actually higher than Biden's tenure. And on every point here, Harris has the upper hand. Why? Well, remember this?
Why were you against the House, against the Senate border deal, the bipartisan border?
Well, they allow 5,000 people a week. Number one, that, but it also made it much better for the opposing side.
Do you remember that? Trump and Mike Johnson blocked the border bill that Biden and conservative Senator Jim Langford crafted that would A, not release immigrants seeking asylum until their case was heard, B, end catch and release, and C, when those encounters reached 5,000 a day, the border would be shut down. And the Republicans blocked it. Maybe these idiots should visit the border.
I know you're not trying to zing your colleagues, but it's your colleagues in your party, sir, who torpedoed this, who didn't get the facts right on what you just outlined was in that measure. They killed it. Ironically, not Democrats.
Right. It was, and it was painful to be able to watch it.
Here's the reason why Harris will win. And it's not just that Trump is an insane sociopath determined to become a despot.
I want to be a dictator.
Like the Fox and I Wish I Had Friends just said, Harris's political maturity is dead center, but also empathetic to Americans who are weary of MAGA's assault on the country. I mean, think about this. Project 2025 calls for drastic, almost obscene changes to our nation, positioning Republicans as the party of big 1984-style autocracy.
Including legal U.S. residents and American citizens are imprisoned in newly built camps. Protests erupt. Trump addresses the nation from the Oval Office, invoking the Insurrection Act and declaring the protesters a danger to American sovereignty. He signs an executive order removing abortion records from HIPAA privacy regulations and announces a new federal data sharing program so states can monitor women's periods.
And of course, proposing that the feds have access to your wife and daughter's doctor's office. Does that sound like a conservative?
I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who's behind it.
The Republican Party fell into a trap. Kamala Harris is a smart, pragmatic person and a wily politician. She's never called herself a liberal, a moderate, or a conservative. She simply lets her actions define her, and those actions have great appeal to Americans. Like 100 million Americans, she married into a family. And when idiots like Vance say this,
we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
I mean, who talks like that about women?
You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
Yeah, well, there's that. But now you see why these little Fox chicklets are worried. Kamala Harris is redefining American politics in every way you can. Actually, she's bringing America into the 20th century.
And with a straight face, you're going to tell me that electing a woman is unprecedented? Germany elected a female chancellor. Brazil elected a female president. Denmark, Poland, Korea, Argentina, Norway, Liberia, Cyprus are run by women. So 22 sovereign states in the world have already beat us on this.
President Joe Biden is a fighter and would have never stepped aside for anyone else. He knew then what we know now. Kamala Harris is a badass, and Trump, he's all ass.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Damn right.
Trust me.
Shut the f*** up, John.
Who's with me?
Oh, yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Damn right.
Tick-tock.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.